Welcome. This is Technophile, as it said on the label, of course. My name is Marco, and with me, the man who knows everything, technologically speaking, Francis Pisani. Francis, how are you, sir?
Good. And yourself?
It's always a pleasure to see you. Now then, the iPad, or the various elements that you bring into the studio and tell us all about, at the core of it for me is about news and how we use news, and follow news. You have a development on that?
Yes, two. One is figures. In 2010, 26% of Americans read newspapers on paper. There were 30% in 2008 and 38% in 2006. And so people say that online news is the big thing. And for instance, Le Monde, the French newspaper, gets 20% of its web traffic from mobile application. But and among the mobile application, the iPhone and the iPad. But the iPad doesn't do everything, as we are going to see on this short video, which is an advertisement from Newsday, a New York region newspaper.
Let's take a look.
Sure, if it's not going to rain too much. Can you get your sneakers from Jim?
The new Newsday app is better than the newspaper in all kinds of ways. Except for one. Get Newsday every day in a whole new way.
Okay, so the message is, if you want to, you can't beat the old-fashioned newspaper magazine for certain things. Don't be cruel to flies. Open the door or the window and try and shoo them out. That's my advice, and Francis agrees with that too. We move on to talk about maybe a more serious issue, certainly. This concerns in Russia, where the police are using, well, the idea of digital piracy as an excuse, basically, to clamp down on certain, well, dissidents or elements that they see as, I suppose, subversive to their regime.
Absolutely. And the story was published 2 days ago by the New York Times, which said that police in January, for instance, raided an environmentalist group, Lake Baikal Wave, which is denouncing the reopening of a paper factory which is polluting the Lake Baikal. They raided the place, took 12 computers, and said there were pirated software in it, among them Microsoft. The problem is that Microsoft was backing this kind of intervention, and the New York Times story blew the kind of scandal out.
Sure.
What is important is that the day after, the Microsoft Legal Counsel published, so you have on one website a picture of Lake Baikal factory.
Yeah.
The day after, Microsoft Legal Counsel published an apology saying it was wrong, their comportment was wrong, that they were going to revise it, and giving two big pieces of information. First, they would give free software and license to use it to all NGOs in certain countries. And second, they would revise and give a list of the lawyers they are working for, because some of them were corrupted and working with the police.
So this is Microsoft actually acting against those authorities, if you like, in this case, the Russian police.
They were backing the authorities because they were pursuing anti-piracy enforcement policy, and they have realized that it was used by the police against activist groups and human rights groups, so they are reverting their policy and apologizing almost for what they had done before.
Okay, it says something about the growing power of Microsoft on a worldwide scale, doesn't it? It's absolutely phenomenal. Talking about another big computer superpower, Google next. Tell us the latest you have on Google.
So we are going to see two new functionalities of Google. The first is for Google search. For instance, if I will type F, and you see immediately they have the results. I don't have to finish.
Don't get Franz van Cat. That's what I'm worried about.
But so the F gives Facebook, the FR gives Fries, which is a software, a hardware and software store.
I know it is a chocolate company.
Silicon Valley. And when I give Fran, we get France, and so on. So
we're still not getting Franz van Cat. I'm upset.
So the first thing, it's good for users in general terms because we have the results very quickly.
Sure.
But it tends to favor general search like Facebook or like Paris Hotel instead of Paris 2-star hotels.
Got you.
Second, advertisers are worried because of this solution functionality, I would say, because of advertising issues. It is very expensive to get the ad for the only F. For instance, if I type O, you have orbits, very expensive. But if I type in French, ordinateur, which is for computer,
Okay.
it takes a long time in order, and you have the advertising about ordinateur. So it's more expensive.
Okay.
This is one functionality. The other one, which is useful for those who use Gmail, it's an automatic classification of your email. So it dispatches the mails in 4 categories: important and unread. So this is very useful because actually these 4 things are recent, as you can see. It's a matter of hours, and I have not read them, and I have them up. Then the starred, the things that I have starred because I want to pay attention to them. Important that I have read, and then everything else. And this is stories I'm not very much interested, mails I'm not very much interested in.
Quite a few.
What is, but I did that, this is this afternoon, I would say. And what is interesting and fun and might be a source of worry for Google is that Yahoo had something similar to the Google Instant in 2005, and that Microsoft had something similar to the Instant Priority Inbox, in the 90s. And so they may have some low issues behind that.
Okay. Let's move on now to your favorite part of the show, Francis. It's what we call the pick of the week. Tell us more.
So, for instance, if I go, the pick of the week tells you if you go to a site that sends information to Google. And for instance, so
What's the alarm about?
The alarm is telling me you're sending information to Google.
I thought it was someone saying that the police were after me.
So
Again.
it is fun, but it is not very useful because it does not tell me how to fight against that. But I have chosen another software, another add-on, which is called Ghostery, and that detects when you are sending information not only to Google, but to any website that gathers information about you.
I think he looks pretty cool. I like him.
And then tells you how to fight against that and take control of the information.
And that
you're
stops you inadvertently sending details to Google or anybody else, which is grand. Francis, very useful piece of ghostery indeed. Francis Pisani, our man in the know of all things technical. Thank you, sir, for your, gems of wisdom yet again.
Thank you.
Happy surfing online. Happy surfing to you too. And of course, most of all, stay with us here on France 24. Bye-bye.